We're live. It is the Monday Rich Lieberman Bay Area Media Pulse. And look, this has been rumored for many, many months now. And now it's official. Um, Eric Thomas, the morning anchor at KCBS, is gone, officially announcing that he's leaving. I don't know the exact date when he's going to be leaving, but it is sooner rather than later. Now, look, I have been critical of Eric Thomas. He, of course, worked many, many years, almost 2 decades, beyond that, actually, at KGO Television, the ABC owned and operated station in the Bay Area, as a weekend anchor, did occasional reporting. And look, I'm not going to diminish his career, had a very strong career as a fill-in anchor also during the week, but mostly as a weekend anchor, and also as he left KGO Television because he really wanted to get out of there, and has spent the better part of the last 5 years doing radio, primarily as the morning anchor, sometimes midday, at KCBS, a station to which I'm also highly critical of, although sometimes they do good work, like the work they did this morning, the early morning earthquake that hit the Bay Area. But back to Thomas. So, look, why did he leave? Because he's tired. He's getting older. He saw the handwriting on the wall. It was probably going to be a time when they unofficially, they being Odyssey, the owners of KCBS and other radio stations around the Bay Area, 95.7 The Game, and around the country, do as they always do, especially when they're in financial purgatory like they are now, asking people to leave, offering them buyouts, making it a wiser choice to leave and to get out while the area and while the time and the place, the grass is greener, kind of a thing. It's nothing onerous about that. Look, I said all along, I'm not going to back down. It's not the popular thing to say, but I'll say it anyway. Eric Thomas, fine journalist, great contribution to Bay Area TV and radio journalism, broadcasting. But he simply wasn't a morning anchor. And the person who was responsible for putting there in the morning made a major blunder. Got away with it because the numbers were ultimately okay. They weren't great. Eric Thomas was not a morning personality. He knows it. They know it. Yet he stayed there. I don't think it hastened his decision to leave, but I know full well that he knows that it was time to go. And sometimes outside forces give you that kind of inclination to, as I just said, the grass is always greener. Thomas is now in probably his mid 60s, late 50s. I don't know his exact age. But look, the time is there. Now the question is, who's going to replace Thomas at KCBS? And I'm hearing through the whispers that they might just leave it as it is in the morning. And that is to leave Margie Schaefer by herself, which would be a mistake because she's not a morning drive personality herself. Is she capable? Well, depends on how you deem the word capable. Let me say this again and again and again, folks, and I'm sorry for repeating myself, but I have to. KCBS gets by due to the fact that it is a monopoly. It does not have competition. It does not have normal competition, which would either dictate the market condition in which they're in, the fact that they get away with hiring some of the most, and I'm not commenting here on Margie Schaefer specifically, but they get away with getting the most ludicrous, the most absolutely incapable talent there is. They have very, very marginal reporters at best. They have very weaker kind of people. They're off the microphone, behind the scenes personnel is decent. But even in that realm, they're not very, very astute. And they get away with stuff. Had they been in a situation in which they had competition, they would not be allowed to operate, or at least they would be challenged. The morning drive is case A example proof. Okay. Any other market, there'd be competition. And when there's competition, the market will then dictate how good or bad the station will do. You know, Thomas leaving now, that's not going to be a major problem. He's not a force to be reckoned with. He wasn't somebody where people are, suffering the fact that Eric Thomas is no longer going to be working at KCBS, that he's retiring. Good for Eric Thomas. He wasn't bad. He just wasn't simply that good. He was marginal. He read his copy. Okay. Margie Schaefer, very talented. She's not a morning drive personality. And folks, I can say that. I'm not, shall we say, I'm not burdened by outside forces telling me what I'm not supposed to say or what I can say. She's average. She's average. She'd be great for the midday from, 10 a.m. to 3 o'clock. She'd be terrific in the afternoon drive with the guy that talks like this. Hello, I'm Steve Scott, and I came from New York, and you know that story. In the morning, where they have the money and to do something based on what is the proper thing to do, if they're going to go with a two-person anchor in the morning, they ought to hire Matt Bigler. He would work great with Margie Schaefer. Okay? But I'm hearing speculation is that they're going to continue with one person. Probably more economically minded because they don't have to pay two people, right? They only have one person in the afternoon. That's Steve Scott, who talks like this. So one person in the afternoon, probably stay with Schaefer in the morning. But to finally just wrap it up on Eric Thomas, his legacy will be more as his role as a TV news anchor at Channel 7, no doubt. And he spent almost 3 decades at KGO Television. And in all of everything, the guy was solid. I never doubted that. I just said that he wasn't very, shall we say, profound, very compelling on radio. He would have been great on the overnight. He would have been great in the evening from like 6 to 2, prime time in the news at night, but not during the morning drive, maybe in afternoon drive, but morning drive wasn't my cup of tea. Nevertheless, I wish Eric Thomas a very, very happy and healthy retirement. Good for him. Good for all the things he brought to the Bay Area TV news radio scene. I'm Rich Lieberman. This is the Bay Area News Media Pulse. We also talk about issues. I have opinions. On everything. Local, national, international. I talk about the media. Hopefully one day soon we'll make this interactive. If you want to text me, 415-999-4454. You can email me, rich.lieberman, Lieberman, @gmail.com. Your input is always vital and welcome. I like a good disagreement. I like compelling reasons why you agree or disagree with me. Hey, if you like this channel, become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And we, as always, will see you later.